It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
All right, welcome back. It is another unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com, presented to you by OKC Zoo Brew, the Oklahoma City Zoological Society's 16th annual Zoo Brew, presented by Byron's Liquor Warehouse at the OKC Zoo, Friday, September 27th. You folks do not have barely any time left to get your tickets. Go to ozsgiving.org for details and to buy your tickets today. Zoo Brew at the OKC Zoo, Friday, September 27th. Our presenting sponsor. We'll have more from the OKC Zoo here in just a bit, but we welcome in Josh McQuistion, who is with us, Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya, myself, Carrie Murdoch, as it is a huge week, and it's a little intimidating at times. When we just finished up an interview with Paul Feinbaum, which good job locking down Paul Feinbaum this week.
You're welcome.
Ever heard of him?
Ever heard of Ray Caruth?
I have heard of Ray Caruth. We got a history lesson on the practice report yesterday.
That I've had a lot of comments on the Ray Caruth discussion yesterday. I actually did a deep dive into what his son's up to now. He graduated high school.
Awesome.
But unfortunately, because of loss of oxygen and blood, when his mom was shot, he was born with cerebral palsy.
Awful story. I remember we were talking about this yesterday after we got done. There was a 30 for 30, I want to say, or maybe like one of those
I think it was an early E60 or something.
Mini E60 segments. And, if you really want to take a deep dive on it.
Raised by his grandmother.
It's an awful tragedy that happened. But, yeah, that was a crazy story I remember from my childhood.
But we got on that yesterday, Josh, because we were talking about the College Gameday appearances at Oklahoma over the years, and that 1995 Colorado game. I don't know if you went to that game as a kid or what, but Jonathan Hessler was the quarterback in for Coy Detmer. And the craziest fact of them all was that Ray Caruth got a touchdown pass in that game. That sent Eddie down his rabbit holes.
That's a huge shock. That's just a massive shock that Eddie didn't end up where that was intended to go. But yeah, I remember. I didn't go to that game, but I remember that was one of the first games I remember being excited about. OU's going to do this, and it
was the height of the Stellenberger hype train.
Yes.
Had they just come off of a win at Cal, maybe? Did they go out to
beat
Berkeley?
Louisville, I think.
Oh, it was Louisville. Okay.
Jamar Mosey was the running back that was kind of the star in that game, if I remember correctly.
No, that would have been Mosey was 99. He would have been later than that. They went to San Diego State, and then they beat SMU, North Texas. That was their first three, was San Diego State, SMU, and North Texas that year. And then got walloped by Colorado at home.
Yeah, and Josh, if you remember, I'm pretty sure that was the first night game at Owen Field with the lights.
That's right. I had forgotten about that, but that's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, for those that don't know, that was Rashawn Salam, that was Michael Westbrook. I mean, that Colorado team was loaded. That was a real team.
A couple years removed from a national championship, right? For Colorado? That was kind of at the height of everything.
91, I think, was the year for them when they split with Georgia Tech. Was it? Was that the same year?
It's a different college football world. There's no doubt about that.
That was the Garrick McGee, Gerald Moore, running back Eric Moore.
There's a young Eddie Radosevich that probably would have died for Gerald Moore.
P.J. Mills was one of the stars on that team.
Unbelievable.
Mike McDaniel was fantastic.
That dude never gets his due. He was a really good player.
Yeah.
I was not born.
Thank you, George.
Yeah. Go back to your bottle, all right? Or whatever. We're big. The grown-ups are talking over here.
6-2 is what Oklahoma is. This is the 9th time that game days come to Norman. 41st appearance for Oklahoma as a program. Some of the games that they've won, though, Josh, and we went down them in the practice report. You talk about all-time legendary, 2000 Nebraska that I think a lot of people on the outside looking in feel like Saturday night could be a reincarnation of, if you will. 2001 Kansas State, 2003 Bedlam, 2007 Missouri with Chase Daniel and the hype that came with that. 2008, obviously, the jump around game with Texas Tech and the ass beating that was. And then, obviously the last time that they came to Norman that I really just don't remember a whole lot of during the COVID year in 2020, a 41-13 victory. I remember the game. Definitely don't remember game day being here, though.
Of what game?
The 2020 game against Oklahoma State. I remember the game. I remember being up on the photo deck because we couldn't go down onto the field. 41-13 was the final. I want to say OU might have sacked whoever the quarterback was. I guess Spencer Sanders at the time.
It was Spencer Sanders.
Yeah,
they sacked him. I want to say like 7 or 8 times in that game.
Was that not the game when he got knocked out with the shoulder early?
Was it?
No, he got sacked like 7 or 8 times, but he eventually fourth quarter
just
took him out because he
Okay.
was just taking it. I mean, Ronnie Perkins was just killing him.
That's right. It was Ronnie Perkins.
He was killing him.
Do you know who remembers that game vividly? Alex Grinch. Like, that was the one point in Alex Grinch's defensive coordinator career where he was it was rolling at any point at OU or USC. That defense was like Ronnie Perkins. He'd come back and was all over the field.
Yeah, but I mean, look, this is, as far as big games go, non-COVID, this is as big as Notre Dame in 2012.
It might even be bigger in just a certain sense because
SEC.
because of the SEC stuff.
I think it's. I was thinking about this the other day. This is, in my opinion, maybe the biggest game of the Brent Venables era so far. I think OU Texas last year was up there,
It has to
but I think this is bigger because of all the implications. The SEC, the type of offense they're facing in this game. Josh Heupel, just the storylines and the narrative. I went on local radio in Tennessee today, and they asked me this question. They're like, "Is the narrative around here is that OU should have hired Josh Heupel, that they screwed up, that OU should have been the ones to hire Josh Heupel as their next head coach. What is your thoughts on that?" And I was like, I never really have thought about that, but I know there's been people that have now brought it up. I know my mailbag this week that's like, hey, if this doesn't work out with Brent, would they hire Josh Heupel? So I think that this is a huge game for Oklahoma in terms of Brent Venables and just the narrative around this program and what he's been trying to build the last 3 years is 4 games like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that doesn't mean that if they go out and they lose that all of a sudden it's everything's terrible and it's over but I think if you win, it's oh shit.
And I think that if they were to go on and win, right, that's kind of a intro or a welcoming or a rebirth of, oh, okay, this defense is not just good. Maybe they are borderline great. Maybe they are borderline elite. And I think that all of a sudden kind of changes the narrative of the season right now.
Well, here's the thing about Josh Heupel and when Tennessee hired him.
I love Josh Heupel. Can I get that out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all do. He went 6-4 before he was hired at Tennessee. His athletic director left UCF to go to Tennessee. They were a dumpster fire, and he was like, "I'm gonna hire someone I know. If I'm gonna go down, if this isn't gonna work, I'm gonna hire a guy that I've worked with, that I know how he works." And he goes 7-6 his first season, then 11-2 in 2022, 9-4 last year. So you were like, going into this season, I think even Tennessee fans were like, is Josh Heupel the one to do this? Because he went 11-2, and you remember that offense was so great in 22. And then was it Milton? Was that the quarterback? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Joe Milton.
Yeah. And everybody's
Joe
like,
Milton.
oh, he throws it 80 yards on the fly, with the flick of his wrist. And he wasn't nearly the quarterback that the guy that got hurt, that was the Heisman contender before him. I can't remember his name now.
In a way,
Hendon Hooker.
In a way, it's kind of like what Alabama or what Tennessee went through when they welcomed Alabama in 2022, right? That was kind of that pivotal moment of the Heupel era of, oh, okay, maybe they can get this done. And I think that the same people that are questioning Brent in a way would maybe be able to turn that corner and say, okay, this thing is the trajectory-wise headed in the right direction if they were to win on Saturday.
Well, let's face it. Oklahoma, when everybody sat and played the win-loss game and looked at their schedule, Tennessee was seen as a win by most people.
Yeah.
But they've played so well, and Oklahoma has played so poorly at times on offense that it has flipped, and they're a touchdown favorite on Owen Field. I mean,
just the third
did you look that up when
time
last
ever.
time that's happened?
That they were a touchdown underdog? I think it's the first. Yeah, I got it pulled up. I can pull it up.
It's the biggest since '97 against A&M, correct?
Right. OU was a 12-point underdog against A&M at home. It's only the third time since 2000 that they are a underdog in any game. The first time, obviously, being Nebraska in 2000, which turned the tide for Bob Stoops and everybody. Obviously, Josh Heupel led that. And then the most recent time was 2016 when Ohio State was a 2-point favorite at kickoff against Oklahoma, and they ended up winning by 24.
So, I mean, look, it is a impactful, meaningful game for the seasons of both teams. I mean, the seasons could go in a certain direction depending on this game. The way people look at Brent Venables, the way people look at Josh Heupel. If Tennessee's a contender, they'll move up. And if they come in here and they're impressive and they win, they're going to be talked about as a favorite in the college football playoffs. If Oklahoma somehow pulls this one out and they win, people are going to reevaluate exactly how they look at Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold and Seth Luttrell and the offense, everything. I mean, it will turn the perception of either team for the rest of the season.
I think the biggest thing you want to see from Oklahoma this Saturday, other than a win, is you walk out and you feel good about Jackson Arnold and his ability to throw the ball, make good decisions, be a gamer. We saw that late against Tulane, the way that he used his legs. Like, be a gamer in this game. Keep Oklahoma in it. And if you lose a close game at home, shit happens. That's college football, and Tennessee's really damn good. Like, I think Tennessee, if they stay on this trajectory, they're going to compete for an SEC title, maybe even a national title, the way they're playing right now. But if you've come out of that going, man, Jackson Arnold played his ass off, made the right decisions, didn't make the big mistake in this game, and was a gamer, then I think as Oklahoma, you can feel pretty good about yourselves moving forward the rest of the season.
Here's my biggest worry, is that the offensive line is so ineffective and so bad that he just has no chance.
Well, yeah. I think that's the main fear for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but Oklahoma. I mean, in this game specifically with their defensive line, like, it's possible in this game that OU just doesn't have a chance because the offensive line can't block anybody.
Yeah, and that's the big question. Can they get some of these guys back? I know Eddie and we put it up on the Crimson Corner this week, but Branson Hickman, Troy Everett, Jake Taylor all have been practicing to some degree this week. We'll see if they can actually play come Saturday. I doubt all three will be able to, but if you could get just one of those guys, you'd feel a little bit better. I still don't think that means that they're going to be able to just run the ball on Tennessee all of a sudden or even protect, but I think that they've got to find some stuff to combat what they're doing. Tennessee's doing defensively, getting the ball out quick, and I don't know.
Josh, I know that you've already kind of started the under the hood just in terms of the breakdown. From a defensive perspective, we'll get into Nico and all those guys here in a little bit. It seems like it's a good defense. Borderline great. They've been just as good against the run as Oklahoma has. The numbers match up with each other. Has there been anything that stuck out to you? Obviously, the defensive line, is it basically as advertised from what everybody around the country has basically said, that these guys are really effing good?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to break any news. Tennessee's really good up front. I mean, like, there's nothing. You kind of see that and you think, like, oh, that looks a little different than Tulane, Temple and Houston. There's a little more there in the bag. James Pierce is an absolute animal. And I don't even think we've seen the best of him yet. Like, if you go back and watch the bowl game last year for Tennessee, he was everywhere. He was torturing Iowa, so, we've seen plenty of people torture Iowa's offense. So, you can take that with a grain of salt if you want to, but he's very, very talented. I thought Brent was more than fair in his praise of him. He's an outstanding player. I think from what I've seen, and again, I haven't finished under the hood. I'm hoping to have that out probably first thing Thursday morning. They are very aggressive at the second level. Like, a lot of this misdirection stuff that we've seen Oklahoma do and, kind of have marginal success with at times, I feel like that could be there for them against Tennessee. Tennessee wants to fly to the football. They're very aggressive. They want to attack. Like, they want to be on the front foot. And so maybe Oklahoma can get them moving in the wrong direction, wrong foot them, and find something on the backside. Maybe that's there. And in the secondary, it's a talented group, but it's kind of the opposite of the front, where you've got legit NFL guys and you've got a lot of experience. The secondary has a lot of transfers, a lot of new faces, a lot of guys still finding their way through this defense. I think there's some big plays to be made there, and people love to point to the NC State game. NC State moved the ball in the first half. They had some success. They just couldn't sustain it, and a pick six kind of broke their back, and they just were never going to keep up. It not unlike Oklahoma. They were never going to keep up with Tennessee in a shootout. They have to play a certain style of game, and I think that's what we have to see from OU on Saturday.
Well, there's been a lot of just trying to figure this thing out, and look, we're getting into some actual football now. I mean, like NC State, they're a Power 5 program, but that game, you guys were talking to Paul Feinbaum earlier, and that will be up on YouTube earlier, but he wouldn't really include NC State as a legitimate.
They haven't been the team that a lot of people thought they were going to be, a top 20 type team that maybe could be an outside dark horse to get to the ACC championship or something like that. Like Grayson McCall's hasn't been great. We saw that in the Western Carolina game when they had to come from behind in the opening night of the season. And as much as we don't know about Oklahoma, I guess it's easy to say this looking from the outside in. I don't know what to believe in terms of Tennessee. I think they're really good. Don't get me wrong. And I think that they're probably deserve to be a favorite going into Saturday night. But at the same time, it's kind of like what Paul Feinbaum talked about. How much of it is real? Mm-hmm. Obviously, the offense, they're not going to score 63.7 points per game all season. And if they do, the national champion's walking into Oklahoma on Saturday night.
Right.
I don't think that that's the case. And particularly because of what Oklahoma can present defensively, just in terms of testing a young quarterback that we've spent all this time talking about, Jackson. It's interesting to me, can this experienced defense present a challenge to Nico that he really relatively hasn't been able to see yet?
Make him uncomfortable.
Sure.
Well, I tell you, we're all trying to figure this out by looking with our own eyes at what we're seeing. It's not always against the best competition, but that's why you need great vision. And Eddie Radosevich, I don't know that he's a savant when it comes to detecting if an offensive line is superior to a defensive line.
I'm not. The YouTube comment sections would tell you that. I am not, and I never claimed to be.
But you do have great vision, especially seeing footballs flying at you while you're in the end zone.
I saw the P. Diddy charges coming from a mile away, and that's thanks to Enjoy Vision, which is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City, and it's not even close. The combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care was life-changing for me. What my good friends at Enjoy are doing for the Unofficial 40 listener, they're giving $400 off LASIK. All you got to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter NJOY with me.com, and use the promo code U40 for $400 off LASIK. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
Do you see P. Diddy enjoying prison with all the types of parties he's been throwing?
Well, he doesn't have the thousands of bottles of baby oil, which is concerning in and of itself. I do not think that he's enjoying his time. In fact,
maybe he'll have his own red while he's in prison.
I don't know what that is.
You haven't seen Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, but
I've never. Morgan Freeman's character was red.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I think that there's probably a good case for that.
Anyway, I mean, Josh, to me, that's this whole thing. It's like, look, Oklahoma beat Tulane. Tulane took Kansas State to the wire. It's comparative stuff. It's all you have on George. I know you hate it. You don't have to say it. I know you hate it. But it's the only thing you have to go on. It's trying to figure this out. Yep. We're going to find out. That's the exciting thing. Saturday, we're going to find out. And I think what you guys talked about earlier, if you have Branson Hickman back, that makes a little bit of a difference. I can't believe after watching Jake Taylor struggle just to get off the field or get up off the ground the last time he played, I just thought, man, that guy's got a lot of issues. I can't blame him if he's not ready to go yet. Troy Everett, I don't believe for a second that he's going to be ready to go in a capable manner.
Of the three, I would say, if Branson Hickman really can fight through an ankle injury, and I don't even know if it's lingering anymore. We talked about this on the Tuesday.
He's certainly gotten a lot of rest.
It looks like he's getting around fine. I don't know how much to really dive into or to think that is that a real thing, but I don't know. I thought it was a good sign he didn't have a boot on anymore, that he's not walking around with a precautionary measure.
I bet he tries to give it a go. I don't know that for a fact, but he just strikes me as the type of guy that's gonna, give it his best shot. I doubt Jake Taylor. I mean, even if Jake Taylor is able to play, I don't think he's gonna start. Like, I think they like Tarquin and they like Sexton at their tackles if they can have it. Maybe you'd see them, flip Tarquin back to left and Taylor at right, but I think they're reaching a point where they kind of like the five that played in the game against Tulane, or at least finished the game. Other than swapping out, if you could swap out a Hickman for Bates, that'd be great, or even an Everett maybe at left guard. But I don't know. Also, to your point, Carey, the Tulane, I was looking at their schedule. I have it pulled up right here. I don't think Tulane's going to lose another game the rest of the season. They play South Florida, UAB, Rice, North Texas, Charlotte, Temple, Navy, and Memphis. Memphis will be an interesting game to finish the year for them, but that Tulane team could end up winning 10 games this year.
Yeah,
for South Florida could be a problem. They're just so good offensively. Alabama well,
yeah, for a while at least. What do you think? What do you think, Josh, about Oklahoma's defensive line against this Tennessee offensive line?
To me, I think that's what decides this game. Like, if Oklahoma's going to have a chance, that they have to win that battle. Like, they just have to. And I don't think it's interesting because, like, I'm stuck in the middle because I hear national media talk. I'm like, guys, Tennessee's good, but let's see a little more. Like, let's not get too crazy. Like, there is this almost like it's 2019 LSU. No, it's not. No, it's not. Stop that. That's too much. But at the same time, I talked to OU fans who are like, well, it was because of this, and Nico only looks great because all the people around him. And I'm like, no, Nico looks pretty special. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect yet, but he does some stuff that you're like, oh, okay, that's a real guy. So to me, they've got to make Tennessee as one-dimensional as possible. They cannot be giving up 6, 7, 8-yard runs. I mean, obviously they're going to happen, but that can't be a well that Tennessee goes to consistently. And that, to me, that's the balance, guys. Like, in this game, at the same time I'm saying you can't get gashed in the run game, they can't be giving up big plays because they can't. I mean, the OU, I just don't believe OU can play in a track meet game with Tennessee. I don't believe that. So you've got to weigh that out. You got to pick your spots. Oklahoma's going to have to be really, really disciplined defensively because I just think Tennessee is so good at making you pay if you're out of place, you're out of position, even a little bit. But I think Oklahoma can play with this offensive line. Like, I mean, I don't even think so. Like, I really believe that. It's just, to me, a question of, can they balance it? Can they create pressure? Can they move Nico around a little bit and make him uncomfortable? And I legitimately believe the fans are going to have a role in this game. Like, I was a little more surprised that Brent didn't come out with a jump around game like Bob Stoops did, 15 years ago. I thought he was going to come out and be like, we got to have you. Like, this has got to happen or we're in trouble.
This is this game is exactly why you paid Dominic Williams all that money, by the way. Like, you need him to be a dude in this game. And not just him, but, a DJ Terry, who I thought played phenomenal.
Coming off his best game of the year.
Yeah, like, you need those guys on the interior.
And he was big against Texas last year, too.
Yeah,
when it really mattered.
You need Jaden Jackson. We've talked about him so much. Like, what a big game for a true freshman, but you need him to be a guy. And I'm not talking about getting after Nico. I'm talking about taking on two blockers and letting, a Danny Stutzman or Kobe McKenzie, Kip Lewis, whoever, go make a tackle in the run game. Like, that to me is a huge question mark, is can that defensive line that, they went out and kind of rebuilt over the last couple years, can they hold up for, the entire game?
I mean, what I love about this is we've spent so much time, 3 years, talking about OU being SEC ready. We're going to find out. Like, we're going to find out if that defensive line measures up to what an SEC defensive line is supposed to look like. Like, if Tennessee comes in here and they're able to get pressure on the quarterback, they're able to, push the line of scrimmage forward on, and I don't think it'll happen on offense, but defensively, like, is our Mason Thomas, like, is he going to be a guy that can get in the backfield? I'll say this, and I know, he's not been always the most popular guy. We haven't given him the credit that he deserves, but I still want to see more out of Ethan Downs this year. I just don't feel like I've seen a lot from him. I feel like I've seen more from Trace Ford than I have Ethan Downs so far.
Yes, and I also would say, and I don't like Ethan, but I have a feeling we're going to see more and more of PJ. I wonder if this is a game that we see PJ because of his athleticism, how big he is on the edge.
Do we see Danny Okoye?
Maybe
they've been saving him for this.
Maybe
don't tease me.
How much of like just in terms of like overall schematic scheme, whatever you want to call it, like how much do you think that there has been of and this is definitely like
offensively or
OU
defensively?
podcast centric, like either side that we haven't seen that they've maybe just been waiting on?
I think defensively we'll see some stuff we haven't seen yet. I think that Brent's gonna bring some different blitz packages. You're gonna see. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw a Danny Okoye on a 3rd and long, and he's in there and he's just let loose, right? Offensively, I think that they've basically said we have to find something. So I don't think that they're just holding a ton back. Maybe they have some wrinkles or a trick play here or there that we obviously haven't seen yet. But I mean, Seth Luttrell kind of told us last week too. He was like, "Yeah, I didn't really want to run Jackson this early. We knew that we were going to at some point this season because we thought we could have some success there, but." Kind of had to dip into our bag there a little earlier than we anticipated. So I don't know if we'll see a ton of new stuff offensively. More so, I think having a guy like Nic Anderson back could maybe open some things up for him. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, that's to me offensively. If you can get Hickman back and you can get Anderson back, you're so much better just by personnel. You're just better from what you're putting out there on the field. Now, the only thing offensively that I wondered about, and I honestly hadn't thought of it. Somebody asked me about it in board chat. Could they do something with Michael Hawkins? Could there be a package in there somewhere? I mean, very simplistic. Like he's got this, or he's got that, or he runs. Like it's kind of that sort of deal. And maybe you're using it like it's it's RPO, or he's just reading this guy. And frankly, they want the end to crash down so Michael Hawkins could bounce outside and run. Like I could see something like that. I don't think we will. I haven't heard anything like that. But I just wonder about that kind of possibility because he is so dynamic with his feet and not a guy that can't be this isn't Alex Orgy. Like Michael Hawkins can throw the football. So I think you could do something with that to where you're not putting Jackson Arnold in harm's way, but you're still putting that Tennessee defense under some stress, under some pressure. But defensively, I agree with George. Like we're going to see a lot. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at Nico. They're going to try to make him uncomfortable. And I think – guys, I mean, somebody asked me, like, what does Brent usually do against these kind of offenses? We really haven't seen Brent's defenses go against these kind of offenses much. They haven't really they didn't cross paths with them much at Clemson. At Oklahoma, there really hasn't been a lot of this. So we're kind of all learning on the fly what this is going to look like.
Bold prediction, I think we will see Michael Hawkins in this game. I think that there'll be some sort of either trick play or package, like Josh said. I think that they, just like the defense, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at Tennessee. I'm sure that there is something that they have drawn up or designed that they've been holding back with Michael Hawkins, whether that's putting him out at receiver and then motioning him in and doing something to trick play wise or a speed option, throw. I don't know, but I think we're going to see Michael Hawkins in this game.
We spent so much time talking about how this environment can affect Nico and what kind of you have a cough button now, George, and what kind of pressure you can get.
What do you want to run the show?
Sorry, I forgot. My bad.
What about Jackson Arnold, guys? I mean, he seemed really excited Monday when we talked to him about coming to Oklahoma for games like this. What's his poise going to be like in this game?
I think it's a big question mark, and if it's a close game, you would like to think, and Bob wrote about this a little bit on Wednesday boarding on Soonerscoop.com, just in terms of he's been through a little bit of a baptism by fire. There hasn't been a whole lot of room for error in terms of what he's done or not been able to do in fourth quarters of games, whether that's putting together a drive to put a game away or, this past Saturday against Tulane. And Brent talked about it on Tuesday, just in terms of the way that he kind of carried the team post or after the pick six. Like he put a dime on Deion Burke's chest. You got to make that catch.
Yeah. And if you're Zion Reagans or Zion Kearney, you get a what are you going to be like in this game? And I want to get back to this. and talk a little bit more about the guys that are coming back, but just OU's poise offensively with their quarterback. But first, I want to tell you about this.
It's back! The Oklahoma Zoological Society's 16th annual Zoo Brew, presented by Byron's Liquor Warehouse at the OKC Zoo, Friday, September 27th. Craft beer fans aged 21 and older will enjoy a variety of tastings from the finest breweries in Oklahoma, as well as wineries and distilleries. Gates open at 6 p.m. Tickets will sell out. Visit ozsgiving.org for details or to buy tickets today. Zoo Brew at the OKC Zoo, Friday, September 27th.
All right. Yes. Go check out ozsgiving.org. Buy your tickets today. I'm on the website right now. There are still tickets left. So get them before they sell out. September 27th is the 16th annual Zoo Brew presented by Byron's Liquor Warehouse at the Oklahoma City Zoo. And sell this thing out. Make it a BLC night. So appreciate the Zoological Society for being the presenting sponsor for the Unofficial 40 leading up to this event. We're going to welcome in a new presenting sponsor next week, Schwab's Meat Company. The longtime Schwab family, Scoopers, been a part of things for quite a while, and glad to have them now as a presenting sponsor for the Unofficial 40.
You have a cough button, Carrie.
Oh my gosh, he's about to die. There we go. He's down
okay, I got
right now.
I for the people out there listening, I can't see Carrie either, and I thought Eddie was joking, and then there was a long pause, and then I got legitimately concerned that Carrie actually was dying.
That's the negative of having popcorn in the office.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's
that voice.
Well, at least it's not a 6-foot bong or something. Rip that thing and go to
be a lot cooler if it
when
was.
Those little kernels went down the wrong way.
That's freshman year, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
going to be tie-dye colored.
What is that? Smart Pop? That stuff is deadly.
Low
calorie as it is.
It almost took you down.
My eyes are watering. Anyway, no, let me ask you this too. Nic Anderson, going to be a lot of rust there. I mean, he hasn't been practicing up until last week, right?
That's the one thing that I'm kind of fearful of is, like, everybody thinks he's going to be the savior. And maybe I do think, like, just his presence on the field alone will help take attention away from somebody like a Deion Burks. But to think that we're going to come in here for the post-game podcast on Saturday night and Nic Anderson goes for, like, 8 for 130, I would be a little hard-pressed to think that.
With 3 touchdowns.
It'd be incredible. I think that they win the game if that were to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome. I don't think that's going to happen either, but I also think sometimes we forget just how good Nick was a year ago. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he went out there and, had 5 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. I think that, there might be some rust. I'm more interested, can they get the ball to him? Are they going to give him enough time to get the ball to him? But I think the fact that Tennessee has to game plan for him, and then once he is out there, like Eddie said, I think it can open up. Because right now, teams just aren't threatened by, Zion Reagans or Brennan Thompson or J.J. Hester, whoever's out there. Like, teams just aren't. Blake Roberts. Teams just aren't threatened by those guys right now. And I think they will be by Nic Anderson.
By the way, I would love to see some better blocking from Bauer Sharp if he's going to be out there.
Yeah, interesting. They didn't run as much 2 tight end sets against Tulane as they did
2 back sets.
Yeah, but Jake Roberts didn't play as much against Tulane as he did against Houston. I'm interested to see. I bet we see a lot more 2 tight end sets in this game because they're going to need him for protection, and also I just think that getting the ball out quick to the tight ends might be something you can find some success with.
Well, the one thing that we saw against Tulane was we saw the best version of Deion Burks that we've seen so far. I mean, he was a guy that was catching the ball, running, down the field, not running a hook and catching it standing still.
Was it surprising to you guys to, I guess, just realize that he's had 22 receptions, which is the most by an Oklahoma player in the first 3 weeks of the season?
It's not surprising. It's surprising how little his yardage is, because it does feel like he's caught a ton of balls this year. But his yardage is so low.
I don't think that I would have guessed. Like, if you would have said over under 18, I might have been taken the under.
Oh man, I would have said over. It feels like every game so far this year he had
9 in the season opener. Is that right?
Something
against
like
Temple, like it was something like that.
It feels like every time that a guy like catches a third down pass or something, it's been Deion Burks, like every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I still kind of feel like Javonte Barnes and Taylor Tatum are going to get the bulk of the carries at running back.
The thing with Tatum, he clearly has the most juice of that group, but he has made a lot of mental mistakes in the passing game.
It's not good. It's not good.
The pick six, I thought that was an Ozida issue. I believe that was a Taylor Tatum.
It was a Taylor Tatum issue.
Yeah.
It was Tatum. Yeah.
So that's the hard part, is putting him out there. It's like you love his ability and all of that, but he's got to get the mental side down, and you can't have those mistakes this week.
7 receptions against Tulane last week. He had 9 against Houston and then 6 in the opener. 7 for 80, 9 for 53, and 6 for 36. 22 for 169 this year, 7.7 average.
How many?
To George's point, it was the first time. Last week was the first time Deion Burks has averaged more than 6 yards per catch,
which for your premier receiver is awful.
Yeah, and I think what they need to do, the stuff down the field just isn't there right now. I mean, it's just not. And a part of that's because of the other guys playing receiver. But one of the things I loved they did last week was the screen stuff to him. I mean, they were in that big screen down the sideline. They need more of that. Like, do that stuff, get him out in space, and let him make a play.
I did notice after watching that Aaron Murray video, running backs were getting out of the backfield a lot faster.
Yep.
Javonte Barnes was getting into the flats with, reckless abandon, getting ready to catch the ball. I mean, the only thing that was just terrible was the throwback play. I mean, the spacing on that was weird, and
I thought the timing.
I
guess if you
off.
execute it, you go, "Oh, what a play call!" But because it didn't work and you lose yardage, it's like, "Well, that was dumb."
It just looked like they were both too excited. Like they were both way too ready to run that play, and because Taylor Tatum never sold me that he was going to run wide, and Jackson Arnold never acted like he wasn't interested. Like it didn't work the way you needed it to. What I did want to say, guys, is just as a funny aside, like I remember when I was doing the under the hood for Jeff Lebby when Oklahoma hired him, and one of the games I went over was when Ole Miss went to Tennessee and played in that crazy game when the Tennessee fans like revolted and are throwing stuff out of the stands. Just that nutso game. That in that game, I want to say that it would have been Matt Corral. He threw to the running backs probably 16 times in that game. Like, I mean, just a crazy amount of running back passes. And I wonder if you see a lot of that almost as a makeshift for, okay, Oklahoma's not going to line up and run at Tennessee. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. But you could do some quick stuff outside to Taylor Tatum, get him in space, and try to do it that way and kind of steal some, quote-unquote rushing yardage from your backs and do it in kind of a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that OU can actually do some things in the running game that makes them continue to be a part of it. My worry is nothing. They can't block up anybody to run it. It just turns into a pass fest or a screen fest or misdirection or zone read stuff. I mean, and maybe that's why you should think of Michael Hawkins would be in there. By the way, want to mention prices for this game. They're kind of hovering in the secondary ticket market, above $200. I will say this, we put. Well, that was interesting.
That was weird.
I think we might have had some power issues here in the office. Secondary ticket market. We put up some posts on the board, just kind of saying, "Hey, this is what's going on right now." And they've been hovering a little above $200 for mainly upper deck. If you want to sit upper deck, you can sit $200 on the Game Time app. Just go to the website gametime.co. Log in or create an account. Use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Terms do apply. Download that app today. You can get last-minute tickets. Lowest prices are guaranteed. But just kind of looking through things and seeing exactly the Tennessee game. I'm seeing plenty of $230 seats, like Section 39, Row 57, $235. And here's the thing, too. People talk about the fees. Yes, fees are associated with all these secondary ticket markets. But with Game Time, you can click on the all-in pricing, so you see what the final cost is. There's no surprise when you get to the checkout, and that helps you make your decision on what tickets you want to select.
I also like the fact that you can see where you're going to sit. Like, it's a exact location or a panoramic view of where your seat is within the stadium or arena. Did you know this
on your phone app? Like, if you turn...
It like moves it with you?
It moves with the stadium with
That's
you.
awesome.
So like if you turn to your right, I guess it works for places that have obstructed views,
That's cool.
which Norman doesn't really have it.
Yeah, you can even see the person that you're going to yell at to stand up or sit down. Either or. You better not be telling them to sit down.
Depends on if you're an old or a young.
That's exactly right. And the best thing about Game Time is the lowest price is guaranteed. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find somewhere else. All you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code ON3. That is the letter O, the letter N, the number 3 for $20 off of your first purchase.
Terms do apply.
Terms do apply. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you to Game Time for sponsoring the show throughout the season. And you can go to the Crimson Corner, too, and check out what people are saying and what kind of deals that they're finding as well. So, all right. So, special teams, do we know much about Tennessee's kicker? Are they?
I think that they've been so good offensively.
You haven't had to worry about
which
might be a positive in a close game.
I think that we would be looking at as, oh shit, right? If it was on the other side of things and we didn't know about Tyler Keltner, which we know about Tyler Keltner? I brought it up on radio. I think that like if OU's going to struggle, and if you look at the NC State game as an example, the average starting point for Tennessee in that game after the pick six to make it 14-3 was the plus 42-yard line. If OU's going to have problems offensively, I think Luke Elzinga becomes a big weapon in this game, especially if you're going to lean on the defense.
And he's been great. He's been great through 3 games. He's been... I had somebody ask me in my mailbag to rank the 10 best players for Oklahoma so far through the first 3 games. And Luke Elzinga, I think, came in at like number 6 or 7 on my list because I was just like, he's been phenomenal. Like he's had to be out there way too many times, but he's been awesome. Meanwhile, I think Tennessee's only punted twice this season. Is that correct? I believe that's what Brent said in his press conference.
I need to go back and check it. Now, as far as their kicker, he's currently leading the nation in scoring. Now, part of that obviously is all the touchdowns.
Extra points, yeah.
But he's 7 for 8 on field goals.
They've had to kick 8
he's
field
definitely
goals?
kicked the ball.
We didn't bring it up last week during the Eskridge Lexus postgame show, but the extra point in, I think it was the second quarter by Tulane, was the worst.
What happened
kick.
on that?
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
It's the worst extra point attempt
Was it
I've ever seen.
Did they botch the snap or something?
I have no
I
idea.
think he just kind of whiffed at it because
Like he
No,
almost
the snap
missed,
looked good.
He almost
The snap
missed the
looked
ball.
fine.
Wow. Yeah, that was
It
bad.
was awesome.
Yeah.
you knew there was no chance you were fielding that one.
Well, and it ended up being a big point for some.
Yeah. I think, it would have been 14. Yeah. For those who got it when it opened.
Yeah.
Isn't this so exciting, though? This is the most excited I've been for a football game.
Yeah.
I was
it
telling
is.
George on the way back from practice on Monday night, this is like one of those weeks that I kind of wish that I lived down here in Norman.
Yep.
I feel like when I go back to Oklahoma City, I'm leaving the bubble
It's
a
like
little bit.
it's like you're missing something. You're
It
like,
will be
what's
interesting
going
on Friday night to just see how many Tennessee fans are staying downtown, because usually if you drive around on Friday afternoon around the downtown area, there will be a ton of Tennessee fans, because I remember that with Notre Dame fans.
Yeah.
Just kind of milling about.
Well, and they were doing, when Notre Dame was here, they were doing a big alumni, like they had a party in the park over by the Myriad Gardens. They did a big pep rally over there and stuff. So I don't know if Tennessee will do stuff like that, but hopefully no one tries to put a boat in the canal.
Yeah. I hope this.
That would be amazing. I kind of want to see that happen.
Just paint one of those things orange. That'd be amazing. That'd be hilarious.
You get those blow-up ones from China that are really big, those yachts, those blow-up yachts. Wasn't there an NBA, it was like a Foot Locker commercial where guys were, like James Harden maybe, he had like a blow-up yacht. He was driving around. I need to go YouTube that and
I don't remember
See if you can find that.
I thought all of the stuff on Tuesday with Brent, and even hearing from Josh on Monday, though, it kind of I know that we were watching that game day preview that they ran before the 2000 Kansas State game. Everybody just looks so young, and like the Brent Venables story, whether it be true or not, about Achilles Smith yesterday or on Tuesday was. I thought it was phenomenal.
How that's true. I mean, I look. We all know. I just told a story about just thinking that Jamar Mosey was the star in 1995. He wasn't even on the team yet. So all of our memories are a little bit hazy. I can't really blame Brent for that. But
my dad said that he thinks he is mixing up the story of K-State going after Michael Bishop from Blinn Junior College, because Michael Bishop and Achilles Smith, I believe, were coming out of junior college at the same time. And I think that he was thinking, because then Michael Bishop ended up at K-State. And
almost led him to a national title.
So my dad said he thinks that he was mixing up that story from Kansas State recruiting,
and maybe
Achilles Smith.
Brandon Everidge being his his cousin, Josh, wasn't.
There was some relationship there, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah,
so maybe all that together kind of caused a cauldron of confusion.
Sure.
I don't know.
He's trying to figure out how to stop Nico. We can't rely on all the stories here. I thought it was a fantastic, just story about Josh in general, though. Like the pasty white.
I asked Josh about that today.
What did he say?
I asked him about that on the teleconference. I read him the quote verbatim, and he was just like, "Yeah, I was pasty."
I'm from North Dakota. What do you expect?
Yeah. So,
I also thought and we mentioned this on the practice report on Tuesday night, but just the blending of culture or whatever you want to call it at the time, where the program was in such bad shape, and then for Josh to take over. And him and Torrance Marshall, a guy from Aberdeen, South Dakota, and a guy from Miami, Florida, coming together to bring that team together. Those types of seasons, I just don't know if you see anymore in college football with guys that weren't necessarily the highest recruited guys in the entire world, but they were just some dogs.
I mean, if Florida State hadn't lost their quarterback last year, that was a pretty NIL-heavy program that had a poor season the year before. Or not a poor season. You played them in the bowl game, and they were really good. But, I think you can still build teams overnight. It's just not, you can't do it the same way. It's got to be through NIL. It's not through JUCOs. I mean, you think about Josh, I don't know if you were in 99, if you were just a little recruit Nick sitting around that was following all this stuff, but I have old printouts of that recruiting class and everything Josh Heupel, 1-star. Torrance Marshall was a 2-star. It's you just went, all those JUCO guys they signed, Dan Cody wasn't, he'd probably be a 5-star if recruiting were as big as it is now. Back then, Teddy Lehman, nobody knew who he was. He was some guy from Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. Unless you were a local high school, coach or you had a kid playing in that division, you knew that Teddy Lehman was a badass, but it was like folk tales. And then, Nebraska was interested, and then he came and he ran his 40 at the camp and got the offer immediately. But none of those guys initially registered on anyone's radar. I think Michael Thompson might have been the highest rated kid in that class, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, because he was a big deal, and it still blows my mind. I mean, it's a total recruiting aside that Bristow just doesn't have guys anymore. For a while, that was a place you could go and find talent, and they just don't anymore. But Michael was a big deal, and probably would have been a
Jason
great player
White was a big deal because he was committed to Miami.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that class, there wasn't a lot of guys that you were just oh yeah, that guy's no doubt. I mean, even you look at Rocky, and Rocky was a big deal the year before. But look at his offers. It wasn't like he was picking from Florida State and Florida, all the schools that were kind of dominating in that era. He wasn't that guy. It was K-State, OU. I mean, he had good offers, but there was never that guy's a buckets winner just waiting to happen.
It was because so many coaches went into jinx that you couldn't help but know that he was the kind of the heartbeat of their team. Yeah, and I'm sure coaches were well, I don't know about this guy athletically, but he's a guy you want in your locker room.
Well, I think it's also proven. It's also proven that to play for a national championship, which this kind of makes it scary for this year, you have to have a Putnam City North Panther on the team. Barry Holloman.
Barry Holloman was a good player.
Yeah.
How about the Pride of Bishop Kelly getting a scholarship?
That was really cool.
That was awesome. Owen Heineke.
I didn't know about this walk-ons place.
Oh, walk-ons is like a legendary, like Baton Rouge.
I guess there's one down there near Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Yeah, they opened one in Frisco.
Yeah, in Frisco.
I think that's like one of the next steps in Oklahoma's BLC journey. We got a Capitol Grill. We need to get a walk-ons.
Well, now that they gave $50,000 to Owen Heineke, we need a restaurant.
Well deserved too. I think that
So we can repay
Owen
him.
is one of those guys that definitely, like, when I think of like the walk-on program, he is probably to a T what Brent Venables wants in the program.
And I joke about it sometimes because I also went to Bishop Kelly, but like he's a damn good football player.
Yeah.
Like he's been really good on special teams.
Watch him on kickoff.
Yeah, he's damn good. So, and I know he comes from a great family. He's the nephew of the great Corey Heineke that played at OU.
It was
And
yet
it's
another big cog in the national championship season as a walk-on. Well,
And
he
a
was at
former
NEO.
walk-on. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then he came as a walk-on from NEO. Like, he would have been considered a preferred walk-on now.
Yeah, and his dad, Owen's dad, played at Tulsa. So, good bloodline.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's so many questions to be answered, but like you said, George, it's such an exciting time. Just getting to see this team go up against another really good team, kind of measure where they're at and see exactly how SEC ready this team is. Now, the offensive line has certainly put a big ding in Oklahoma's hopes and plans to be a really complete football team heading into the season. But I think they've done enough now. I just wonder who's going to be in the starting lineup. I mean, to me, that's the biggest question. Who are we going to see walk out there for the first snap?
Are we naive to think that, like, say Branson Hickman does start, say he plays the entire game, is it naive to think that, like, just his presence alone, having not played for a couple weeks, is enough to make this thing somewhat, I guess, acceptable from the offensive line standpoint?
I'll say
Kind of the
this,
same question we had with Nic Anderson.
To me, the most frustrating thing about last week was just watching that offensive line wear down as the game went on.
And that's my concern with Hickman is how much better he is than Josh Bates. Sure, maybe, but like,
Can he hold up?
Can he hold up on a high ankle sprain the entire game against maybe the best defensive line in the country? Like, he might be able to do it for a quarter or two, but that would be quite the performance if he's able to play the entire game. Like that. That's where I'm at with it, where it's like I think he would help a lot because I think some of it would be the calls and him getting those in and having the right calls. Like I think that's something that could really help Oklahoma. But is he gonna, on a high ankle sprain, be able to push guys around? I don't know.
Well, and did Heath Ozida take most of the reps with the ones this week? Like, is he going to be a little bit better? Because I think for all you can say about Josh Bates and the criticism you can give him, he has gotten incrementally better.
Yeah, I agree.
But he just faded, and everybody on that line faded physically in the second half against Tulane. If that happened last week, that'll definitely happen.
But that also goes to the point, like just having those guys available, like having a Hickman or an Everett available, where if guys, like say Hickman starts the game but Bates finishes it, at least you have, some guys that you could put in that are a little bit more fresh, I guess. I guess that's the like totally glass half full look at it.
Well, and I mean, something that we just haven't talked about a whole lot this week, and it was brought up this morning on CBS. Drake Stoops is back.
That was
I don't know how you can
worst
put that on
analysis
television.
I've ever seen.
How do you not like just Google like OU's leading wide receiver and it just pops?
It's wild.
Like that's bad.
It's really bad.
Well, guys, you know how it is. Like when we talk or we get into discussions about stuff, you'll say something and you're like, oh, I kind of, like I said that wrong, or I wish I wouldn't have said that. Or sometimes you'll just say something that is wrong. Like you remembered it incorrectly or whatever it may be. That was the first sentence out of his mouth. Like he had prepared. Like that was what he was planning to say. That's insane.
I don't know if that was live or taped, but
I think it was taped.
I would have, if I were on that set, I would have been like, dude, we need to start over. Drake Stoops does not play at Oklahoma.
I mean, Rick Neuheisel knows better.
You would
and
think
he was
so?
sitting right next to him.
Oh, is that the guy? Whoever was on his left definitely looked at him like.
Is it Randy Cross? Is that who's on his left?
Randy Cross is on that show.
Okay.
I didn't know who Randy Cross
Somebody
was.
looked at him, and as he said that, they kind of looked at him like, what?
Here's the thing. I'm the only person in this room who probably does know who Randy Cross was, that he actually played in the NFL. Because, Eddie, you've aged out of
He's
Randy
like a three-time Pro Bowl.
Yeah. He was really
I had
good.
no idea.
Very good offensive lineman,
I distinctly said out loud on the radio, like, who's that white guy up there? The old guy.
I honestly don't know who, other than Neuheisel, who, and I'm sure
Brian Cox is on the show, the former NFL linebacker / coach.
on a college show.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, Randy Cross and Brian Cox. Like, sure. Yep, a lot of college game experience there.
You have some news director that's like, oh, they played in the NFL. They can do college. Like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes it. That's the thing. And that's why I think, like, podcasts have become so successful, is because people want to know that you understand what you're talking about. I mean, we may not have played the game.
Why do people listen to this?
Yeah.
That would be the next question.
Yeah. Well, we add a certain element that, pisses some people off. But no, I mean, it's just, that is absolute trash what CBS is putting out there.
Kara, I did want to ask you something this week, because you've covered Oklahoma for as long as anybody. What do you think of Bob not doing any interviews this week about Heupel?
I think there is a process where that relationship is kind of going through some repair. I think him not speaking is his way, and I don't know this. I haven't talked to Isaac about this. This is just my take, because I know there's been a rift, and I know it bothers Bob, and he wishes it wasn't there. And I read some of the Jake Trotter story today when he sat down with Cale Gundy.
Very good story.
Jake does a fantastic job. I mean, obviously, and just referencing is the hardest thing he's ever had to do as a coach, to fire Josh Heupel. It was awful. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I still feel a tremendous amount of guilt for just asking him after that Russell Athletic Bowl, like, do you think you've coached your last game at Oklahoma? But it was just a question that nobody asked, and that was the question that fans wanted to know, because he was under fire. I mean, tremendously under fire for the way that offense performed that season. So I think Bob not talking is kind of a way of saying, look, I'm not going to add to this. Like, I feel, I'm sure he feels terrible about it. I'm sure it was a silent message in some ways to Josh Heupel to say, look, I'd like to bridge this gap if possible, and I don't want to make it worse by coming out and talking about it.
I'm really curious to see, because I know they're going to do some sort of tribute during the game to
And by
Josh.
the way, Mark Mangino told the Family Business guys he didn't want to talk either, because Josh was involved in this.
No, I didn't know that. It's going to be really interesting on Saturday, because obviously we talked a lot about the game, but it's going to be,
If you boo Josh Heupel Saturday night, you're a loser.
I'll punch you in the face.
You're an idiot.
Yeah,
I'll
just
get
like,
I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to get a standing ovation.
Here's what I said. We talked about this morning, and the guys were asking me, because a lot of times when you have the late game at night and you have game day on campus, like, the head coach will come out and talk on the set.
Yep.
And sometimes it's on Fridays, and they'll do it on set. But, like, I would love to see Josh Heupel come out early morning and do an interview with the game day crew, because I think he would get monstrous ovation.
I feel like
from the
Josh
people there.
just isn't wired like that. And a lot of the people that would be going to game day are students that, let's be honest, weren't alive.
Yeah.
I want to see the for me, it's during the game when they do the tribute. If they do the tribute at before the game, during the game, whatever it is, does Josh give a tip of the cap? Does and obviously Bob's going to be there. Do they have any sort of interaction? And then for me, post game, like, what's Josh going to be like if Tennessee wins this football game? What's he going to be like post game? Is he going to sling it? Is he going to be like, "Yep, I really wanted that one," or whatever? Or is he going to be more like, "Yeah, I still have a ton of," still kind of dodges it, because all of us are going to be at that press. I'm going to go to it. I'm sure Barry's going to go to it.
Yeah, I'm going to go over there.
I think there's going to be a lot of Oklahoma media in there, and it's going to be really interesting to see what he says.
3 hours with all the recruits.
I've been thinking all week leading up to the game, like, what am I going to ask Josh Heupel after this game?
I don't
press conference?
I don't think too that, like, Josh would ever, and maybe he said it and I just haven't seen it, but I would hope to think like in 10, 15 years, even when he gets done with coaching, like he'll look back and say, that was the best thing that happened to me. It's obviously worked out extremely well.
He kind of said that on the teleconference today.
He said in his press conference, everything. I'm thankful for everything that's happened in my coaching career because it's led me here.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, failure is a part of success. I mean, you have to fail in order to know what not to do again. And I mean, it's scary to fail. I mean, you feel like you've let everybody down, but a lot of times when you fail, it makes you face the reality of what you're doing and where you are.
And I think that there's been a lot of people say, if Josh Heupel stays at Oklahoma, they don't fire him. He ends up being the head coach at Oklahoma, and look what he's done at Tennessee. He could have done that at OU. Josh has changed completely since when he was at Oklahoma. I think he had to look at himself in the mirror and kind of change what he was doing, not only as an offensive coach. Like his offense is totally different than what he was doing at Oklahoma, but I think also just as a man and how he was approaching his career. I think that there is no way he's where he is today without him being fired and let go.
Here's how I view kind of his transformation is, he was here under Kevin Wilson. Kevin Wilson is a chameleon as an offensive coordinator. He's taken Rich Rodriguez stuff. He's taken his own stuff. He's taken, I remember like Smoke Draw. I mean, he worked with Chuck Long, and they came up with their own stuff. Like, he's a guy that can, pick this and pick that, put it all together, make it cohesive, and make it work. And that is kind of what they asked Josh to continue doing after he took over for him. When he got fired, Josh, I haven't talked to him about this, but it was clear. He said, this is the offense I like. It's the Art Briles offense. And Jeff Lebby, Joe John Finley, Joey Halsley, John Cooper, Josh Heupel, they were a crew, and they all are well-versed in this offense. They've grown up in this offense. They all became coaches because of this offense, and he's embraced it as his own now, and he's used it since he was at, since he probably started it at Utah State when he went there with Jay Norvell, but certainly when he went to Missouri, he was running that offense. And then UCF, that was his offense. Now it's his offense. So he is his own coach. He's running what he wants to run, what he believes in. And I think, having to fail at Oklahoma or get let go has allowed him to kind of become his own offensive guru, which I don't think ever would have happened if he would have stayed at Oklahoma.
I agree.
Because, I mean, he spent a year with Mike Leach. People forget about that. Like, Mike Leach coached for a year at Oklahoma, then he left to take the Texas Tech job. Then Mark Mangino was his offensive coordinator. And you guys heard Bob Stoops tell that story about how Mark Mangino tried to climb over the table and kill Mike Leach because he wouldn't run, a certain run play, a power sweep or something. I can't remember what it was, quarterback counter or counter something. Anyway, like then Josh Heupel spent that year. Remember in the Big 12 championship game that year, they ran an option, and like it was like a legit Josh Heupel looking like Jamel Holloway running alongside a running back and pitching the ball, and we had never seen that before. We were like, holy shit, he just did that. Like, so
it was like 4th and 2 or 2.
Oh yeah, so
like
fourth
it was
down.
a big moment.
Because like Mark Mangino, you could hear him. It was like before they had 7-second delays, and you could hear Mark Mangino over there. He's like, I want you to run the fucking ball. I want you to run it down the fucking routes. Like, he's just screaming at him. And like they go out there, and the offensive line just fires off the line. Josh, runs out with the pitch. He pitches it, easy first down. They end up winning the game.
George, you said it this week, but it's just, I mean, obviously it's an awful situation, but it's unfortunate that Mike Leach still isn't alive because he would hold court even on the teleconference today. I imagine he would have told a bunch of Josh Heupel stories.
It was funny. Eric Bailey, the great Eric Bailey, asked Heupel today on the teleconference about Mike Leach and what he thought he would be like if he had the helmet comms back then.
Yeah.
and Heupel laughed and said, "I'm thankful that they didn't have helmet comms back then because who knows what the hell he would have said on there." And then he joked about Mangino and said, "Yeah, I'm glad he wasn't able to talk to me either because he would have been
Screaming
pissed off,
the whole time.
Screaming at him."
That's a reality show. Just the helmet comm situation with Mike Leach and Mark Mangino in your ears. They probably wouldn't have been able to move the football. They would have never got the play in.
I don't even need Heupel involved with it. Just hearing the interactions in 1999 between Mark Mangino and Mike Leach, I think would have been absolutely hysterical.
Oh, God. I bet Mike Leach it was like talking to a brick wall if you were Mark Mangino.
You know, he just poked and prodded Mangino at every chance he got. Just whatever he could to mess with him. Like, you know he did.
The way Bob told that story is like, it's like Mark Mangino, like, no, I'm telling you, this will really work. He's like, we're going to go out at practice. We're going to run it. I'm going to show you how good it is, and you'll want to put this in your playbook. And he was like, well, you can go out and practice it all day. If I'm not going to run it. It's like, I don't care if it's the best. If it looks like the best play in the world, I'm not putting it in my playbook.
It's so good.
For those who haven't seen that, that's the family business with Zach,
with Bob,
Isaac, and
and Joe Jr.
Yeah, with Bob. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a great one, and people need to go back and watch it if they haven't seen it.
And then I can't imagine Mark Mangino trying to climb over a table to kill someone.
Oh my God, just amazing, amazing.
So anyway, I'll say this: as old as I am now, I better go get a tee shot upgrade, because if Bob and Josh are hugging on the field before the game, I'm going to be up there bawling in the press box.
It's going to be interesting, man. I think pregame you're going to see some of that stuff. I don't know. I hope we see a Bob and Josh interaction, just because I want that
go down on the field.
As someone that grew up, around OU football, and I wasn't very old when they won the national title, but I knew about Josh Heupel. Like, I watched. I remember as a kid, my dad made me rewatch the 2000 national championship game.
VHS.
Yes, VHS, and watching the highlights from that season. I think it would be great for the fan base. I think it'd be great for Bob and Josh if they just had, some sort. I don't know. It probably won't happen Saturday, but you would love to see those fences mended. But I think you'll see, Josh Norman, was his college roommate. I know there's a lot of guys that are going to be back in town from the 2000 national championship team. I know Teddy Lehman's talked about some of that. I think it'd be great to see some of those guys down there and kind of embrace Josh.
One of the first things
on a personal note,
okay, Josh.
Just very quickly, the thing I'm most excited about the Tennessee game for, not most, but maybe second most, is not having to say Josh Heupel over and over and over again, because I alert every time I hit and Josh said this, wait, what did I say? It's brutal trying not to hear my name every time and not acting like someone's talking to me. So personal problems there.
No, it's cool. Well, Josh, this is supposed to be a big recruiting weekend. Let's get into that a little bit. What can you tell us about how big it's going to be, and who are the really big names to keep an eye out for this weekend?
Yeah, as we were recording this, just right around the time we got started, I put up this week's woke with kind of my first visitor list. I think right now I've got around 40 confirmations, and I'm expecting that's probably half of what Oklahoma is thinking is going to come in. I've heard anywhere from 60 to 75, kind of in that ballpark. So it's going to be a heavy group. And when I talk about the guys that are here, it's almost unanimously offers, commitments. These aren't throwaway visits. A lot of weekends, the guys that are PWOs or whatever, they can come in anytime they want to. This one, the OU's got to pick their spots a little bit more and make sure, okay, these are our guys that are at the top of our list, kind of thing. So, I would say probably the two most notable that I think OU fans should feel kind of good about having them in, and B, are really important to what OU's trying to do, are Deuce Gerald's, the big defensive lineman from Georgia, 2026 guy. And Kevin Ford, the big edge rusher from Duncanville, Texas, that Oklahoma, I've said it for a while now, Oklahoma's much more in this race than people think. A lot of Texas A&M talk with him, and he, I'm not going to say he couldn't end up with the Aggies, but I absolutely think Oklahoma is right there in the mix with anybody in this recruitment. He really likes Miguel Chavis. He really likes, just everybody around that program. And what sticks out to me is Oklahoma offered him later than a lot of other programs, and really it was when Oklahoma got involved, kind of in the spring, that was when things really kind of started to take off.
Real quick, then we could jump back to the visit weekend, but Cortez Mills with the locked in tweet, and then Floyd Bouchard announcing that he's no longer committed. Do you
talk about just within 20 minutes of each other, like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is bad.
But do you expect Oklahoma to go in a different direction now with that position? Is it as they look at things, do they say, okay, well, if we have Cortez Mills back, we're not going after another receiver now. Do they stay on the defensive line with Boucard's scholarship, or do they go somewhere else?
I think they could go along the defensive line. I've seen some movement. There's a junior college defensive lineman, that guy named Tavian Atkinson, that I've seen some buzz around, some reasons to think maybe Oklahoma's kind of taking a look there. A really big athletic guy, just as a freshman at Trinity Valley in Athens, Texas. So there are some possibilities there that I like. There haven't been any obvious moves yet. No offers have been made. It's not overly deliberate at this point in time. But there does feel like Oklahoma's going to make a move. Cortez Mills, again, that one just feels like a situation where Oklahoma has kind of just said, hey, okay, like I almost feel like Cortez wanted to see what was going to happen, like almost like testing the fences a little bit. What does it mean if I take this visit? What's going to happen here? And I think Oklahoma responded pretty like, okay, man, we love you, but if we need to move in a different direction, that's what we can do. And I think a further trip would probably be the signal of the end. But the fact that he's willing to, kind of come back in and publicly state, yeah, I'm in, I'm good here. I think that's I think there is reason to believe that OU and Cortez Mills are in a good spot.
Yeah, but if he goes to visit somewhere else, just send one of those cheater film crews out and follow him around and just see what happens. Because I think
Joey Greco just following high school recruits around would be amazing. We should start that.
Is that your type of show,
hey,
cheaters?
I mean, it's absolute trash.
Give me like 2 minutes here, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. I've got chaos at my house. Give me just a minute.
Oh, boy.
Layla and Laney.
Did you guys see, I'm sure you have, Carrie, but our practice report is up to like 13,000 views with 195 comments.
Good.
Lots of Tennessee fans, very complimentary.
13.8 to be exact.
Well, we are complimentary of the people of Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, look, this is how it goes.
This is great. The move to the SEC, we'll see how it plays out for Oklahoma. Great for Sooner Scoop.
Yes.
I mean, the amount of people watching this from Tennessee's point of view is awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see like who their dignitaries are that they bring. I know that there's been some rumors about Peyton Manning possibly flying in.
Morgan Wallen,
a particular fan that enjoys throwing chairs off the top of
go to prison. I
buildings.
think he's going to miss the game.
We're hanging out if he's coming. We'll bring him back over for the post game.
I think he's got to do a 30 to 60 day stretch.
Maybe this is just visiting Oklahoma as part of his work release for the prison.
He'll go visit like the juvenile detention center out there on Tecumseh.
Yeah. Walk dogs like half the fraternity did back in the day.
Eddie, I know you gave your prediction on who will be the game day picker to Danny Stutzman, but any other predictions?
I think it's going to be Blake. We'll see. I don't know that for a fact. Just kind of putting 2 and 2 together, though. It seems like Blake's a pretty comfortable spot. Patty's a pretty comfortable pick. Boz would be awesome.
We know it won't be Bob.
It's not going to be Bob.
Do you think they asked Bob and he said no?
I don't know.
I could see him turning it down.
I could see like Kirk just kind of taking his temperature and him just being like, Kirk, I'm not really. I don't want to be involved in that.
I wonder how much the studio host or the hosts have a say. Do they have a say in or is that something that the ESPN PR team puts together?
I bet there's a certain amount of okay, who's going to get us the most eyeballs?
Sure.
I think they would want. I think their number one choice. This is my point. Is I think their number one choice would be Bob.
Yeah,
but again, I think they probably also knew he was going to say no.
Definitely.
And I think they want to get someone that's going to do a good job or, be fun. They like funny people.
Yeah. And Bob would be good. I thought Bob was good on the Big Noon Kickoff back in the day.
Because I remember when they had Joel McHale on last year, and he didn't know anything about football, but he's funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know who it'll be, but
Blake Griffin would be good. He's funny.
He'll have a couple one-liners. That's okay, this is good.
I saw a lot of people were disappointed that they felt like Danny's suggestion of Mike Hawk was not properly taken.
Oh, I think that there's a lot of people that thought he was referencing
Michael
Hawkins. No, he was talking about Mike Houck, who was standing right next to him, the sports information director for Oklahoma.
He would be great.
Oh,
That'd be funny.
Think it was. I think a lot of people feel like it was a
play on words.
Yes, a play on words. My penis.
Oh,
that's what a lot of people want to believe.
Oh, I guess that never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Didn't even
didn't
register.
cross my mind until the YouTube comments.
Well, I mean, these people are sick.
But Danny is a weird guy. Maybe
I don't
there's
think,
a part of me that believes maybe that happened.
I don't find him to be a stand-up comedian.
I thought he was pretty engaging and funny.
I thought all the interviews this week were great. I thought Jackson was really good on Monday.
Yeah, Jackson was. No, I sure we'd like to have 2 days of interviews, but they've done a good job of giving us ample amount of interviews.
Sure.
I mean,
for sure.
I know we really care. Can we write stories and can we do 2 kind of practice reports, game day previews a week? And yes, we're getting enough to do that.
Absolutely. So. And a recruiting report.
Josh, anything else recruiting-wise that maybe not even associated with this weekend that you kind of are keeping an eye on or that might be brewing?
You talked about it in the recruiting report on Monday, Josh, but the video that you sent back of Peyton Houston, that kid is super, super impressive.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. And really, I talked about it kind of in depth, and, people that haven't watched the report, go back, watch it. A lot of video there in that conversation. But, man, the thing, and I've gone back and watched the reel a couple of times, he is just so good when the play breaks down. And I know that's a lot of people say that kind of stuff, but he's still under control. For a sophomore quarterback in that situation, he's playing on the road, all that kind of stuff. Not that it was a big hostile environment. That's one of those things whenever I get out of Oklahoma and Texas, I forget that most places the high school football is not the same. There's not a big crowd every Friday night, that kind of stuff. So that always surprises me. But on the road, first start like that, just watching him when pressure would come into his face, when he'd have to move out of the pocket, he really was just so under control. He knew when he wanted to run. He knew when he wanted to go downfield. He was just very decisive. And I was super impressed. I know I think Rivals put out their first ranking and had him at number 15 overall in the country. I wouldn't expect it to be all that different, in a lot of different networks. He's very, very good. I think he's a no doubt top 100 guy. And it's just he'll climb the rankings as more people see him.
All right. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on before we get out of here today?
I don't think so. Very excited for the weekend to get here. It's going to be, I think just talking to a bunch of my buddies too, it's the people that are coming back for the game that just don't normally come back. It's going to be a massive weekend in Norman.
I will say this. I know a lot of people have been contacting me personally, probably you too, Eddie, about dropping by the office on Friday. I just don't think we can make it happen. It's just as big as this game is, the way they shut down Campus Corner now on Fridays, I don't know how much we'll be around, to be honest with you. We kind of use Fridays as our day to kind of do laundry and all the stuff we don't get a chance to do during the week. But love to accommodate more people, but I just don't think it's going to be able to happen. So I appreciate everybody that wants to come by, though.
You got so many people coming in from On 3 as well for the stuff Saturday evening.
Yeah, it's kind of the crappy thing for me. I don't know if I'll get to watch the end of the game. We're going to be facilitating the Ari Wasserman and Andy Staples live stream after the game. So they're going to, at least Ari's going to be here for the game. He's going to come back to the studio and get that set up. So if it's down to the wire, I may just call On 3 and say,
hey, we got to delay this.
We're
not leaving.
Late.
We're not leaving the game.
Anyway, no, but it's going to be good seeing Ari. I've never met him in person before,
Good guy.
So get a chance to talk to him. Be cool. Like George said, he's working on some really good stuff with Josh Heupel and former players. Some of the stuff that Jason White had talked about when he was in here on the family business. So really looking forward to seeing that. We're hoping to get it out Thursday, but interview-wise, it might be Friday before we can get that out. So you're definitely going to read that. And right now, we do have 50% off annual subscriptions. It's a flash sale. It's not going to last for very long. But go use code BOOMER, and you can sign up for half off of your annual subscription for first-time subscribers. So go check that out on the site. If you're not a subscriber, you've been holding back, what are you doing? Like, get on the scoop. Get on the Crimson Corner. So, Josh, I appreciate it. Working around our schedule a little bit today with all the tapings that we have going on. Eddie, George has already had to take a phone call working on, I know that Josh Heupel story. So, he's just back. You just back in time to say goodbye, George.
We talking any college football, like other than OU game?
I thought it was interesting that Paul Feinbaum kind of took a crap on Michigan today.
Well, I mean, Michigan is not good, I don't think. But,
which I've been saying. I think we had that argument. Like, was it us or what? No, I don't know who I argue with.
He also took a shit on Texas. So,
he take a shit, or did you just say that
it's a double swipe, just in terms of like, hey, I don't really know what they are yet.
Yeah,
you'll have to watch the interview. It's going to be up on Wednesday.
I thought Arch Manning looked good, but I mean they weren't playing anybody.
Also,
got the General Booty Bowl coming up this weekend. With
that's going to be awesome.
They're 42-point underdogs.
I call it the Davis Bevel Revenge Bowl.
It'll be fun to see if Arch Manning going to start that game.
I think he's out. I think Ewers is out.
He's expected to.
Also, Oklahoma State getting totally screwed by Fox is wild.
How so?
They should be the big noon kickoff.
Oh, yeah, because they're not the 11 a.m. game.
Yeah, they're going to Ohio State Marshall.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, that's just...
And Marshall's terrible.
Yeah, like what is that about?
How about the tampering from the Marshall coach?
That was awesome.
Is that tampering or is that just being honest? I don't think anybody's going to be signing up.
I think it's someone saying it's so ridiculous if the NCAA... Like, I joked this morning, I said Oklahoma State's going to get put on probation for that. Because they got in trouble for the helmet
Wouldn't be
stickers.
surprised.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, look, I'm just glad that we're getting past all these bullshit games and people are starting to play each other. I mean, we've learned, unfortunately, like Jeff Lebby's team is terrible at Mississippi State.
Man.
Getting just waxed by Toledo.
Talk about two bad football teams.
Auburn's not any good.
Isn't it Mississippi State, Florida this weekend?
Yeah, those two are just like, guys, I don't know. Like, Florida's administration has to be like, please don't screw this up, Mississippi State. Like, dude, like, finish him. Like, just end this, and we can. If he loses to Mississippi State, we can just walk, and our hands are clean.
I don't think. I think with NIL, it's got everybody paralyzed at Florida. Like, they're worried if they fire Napier this early, like Lagway will find a way to leave.
See, you can't worry about that though. As a program, like you have to.
I think you have to worry about it more now than ever.
But
your
with
football
Lagway,
team can disappear overnight.
Yeah,
now.
but you can go. There's going to be other guys in the portal, other recruits, and you have to just say
Graham Mertz.
No, I'm just well. There's going to be.
You're not going to replace DJ Lagway, but you can find players that you can win with, especially at a program like Florida. You're a big fish.
Yeah, if you can go get a Lane Kiffin, you do it. And if you get a Lane Kiffin, you might be able to keep DJ Lagway. And if not, whoever the top quarterback is in the portal next year is probably want to play for Lane Kiffin. So
I don't know if Lane Kiffin wants to deal with the bullshit in Florida.
Maybe not, but
I think he likes Ole Miss because it's a very chill job.
All I'm saying is you're Florida. Coach. You should be able to go out and get a really good football coach.
Lane Kiffin can just disappear for a month during the summer on a boat, and nobody cares at Ole Miss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't pull that stuff at Florida.
I don't think he's the right. I think there's a lot of the same problems they had with Dan Mullen there with him. Like Lane does not want to recruit like that. Like
bring
you
back
have to
Dan Mullen.
like they expect you to.
Dan Mullen won 10 games.
I don't think it would be crazy. Maybe not.
Dan
the
Mullen
right
sunk
place.
himself when he basically mocked reporters for thinking that he needed to be recruiting during the season.
Yeah, not
That,
good.
that was just an insane take.
Oh, so okay. You really don't want to be a college football coach, do you?
Yeah.
All right, that's
We'll
fine.
talk about that in the winter. Cool. That's when they all sign, man. It's all over then.
Everybody is signed. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
GTFO.
All right, that's going to do it. We're going to get out of here. Appreciate it. It's going to be a great weekend. Hopefully, everybody's happy after it's over. More than happy. But I think mostly we just want to see Oklahoma look like a functional football team that can compete with people.
I'll say it as I started the pod. I think the biggest thing that could happen for Oklahoma this weekend, other than just winning the football game, is you walk out and you feel really good about Jackson Arnold. He makes the right decisions, makes some big-time plays, and they find some success.
Easy.
Some success.
With
That's
a
a
win,
different
I'm
NIL
sure the guy
program.
will
You're
do great.
trying to
Just
get
in the
started.
pod, I've talked too much.
I mean, it would be interesting if they just at the 50-yard line and be like, "What?"
Oh my God, that's the dirtiest you've ever been on the pod, Eddie. I think.
Well,
It's not usually that deliberate.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
Usually more subtle.
I teed him up on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
We can just drop it.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. I think, we were all ready to go.
It's a long pod. It was a long pod.
It was a good long
Just
pod.
about an hour and a half.
Almost an hour and a half. All right, Josh, thank you, sir. Thank you to Eddie. Thank you to George. I'm Carrie. We'll see you back here again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.